Hello, 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 everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning. Wherever you are in the world, I'm sending you some greetings and salutations. My name is Reverend Phoenix Coffin Williams. I am the first priest of the Corellian tradition. And Happy New Year. This is my first broadcast of Fridays with Phoenix since the calendrical New Year on January 1st. So we back at it. Today I am going, first and foremost, if you have been following, what I'm going to be talking about today is in line with what I've been talking about for the past several months. So if you've been here, you know what that is. If you are new and you just come into this right now for the first time, it might take you a few seconds to catch up. What I have right here in front of us today is these two items. They actually just got to me this week in the mail. And so while this is set up and it looks like, a shrine or what have you, this is not technically a legit shrine. I have not done anything to these statues to bless them or sanctify them or make them ready for spiritual or ritual use. This is right now, the way it's set up, it's a prop. Because none of the spiritual things have happened to these to make them ready, they're just props. But once the magic is done, once the consecration and the due is done, these will be appropriate statues to utilize in ritual services and in devotionals. We got two homies coming to us or, chilling with us today for this particular discussion. These both are Egyptian or Kemetic divinities. This one right here is Khonsu. This one right here is Tehuti or Jehuti. The Greeks ended up calling him Thoth. Both of these gods are lunar divinities. Khonsu is a lunar god who actually travels across the heavens in a bark or a royal boat or chariot in the same way that Ra or Atum does during the day. And Tahuti is the god of knowledge, wisdom, mathematics, medicine, writing, you name it, anything that can be counted or quantified is in his wheelhouse. The thing that is special about these two together is they, in the Kemetic tradition, they have a story arc that I would consider to be creative. These two are responsible for something that we are all familiar with to this day. And I want to read y'all the myth that I'm talking about. How we got a 365-day calendar. In the earliest age, when the cosmos was still fragile and the gods were shaping the rhythms of existence, the sky goddess Nut arched her star-strewn body over the earth god Geb. They loved one another fiercely, so tightly bound that nothing, not even a breath of wind, could pass between them. But their closeness threatened the balance of creation, for Nut was destined to give birth to a powerful line of gods whose coming would reshape the earth. Ra, the great sun god and lord of the ordered universe, feared that Nut's children might challenge his rule. Determined to prevent their birth, he pronounced a powerful decree. Nut would be forbidden to give birth on any day of the year. The verdict was absolute. The calendar contained exactly 360 days, and on none of them could her womb open. Separated from Geb by Shu, the god of air, Nut cried with sorrow, her tears falling as morning dew. Desperate and grieving, Nut sought the aid of Jehuti, god of wisdom, writing, and divine speech. Jehuti, ever clever, was moved by her plight. He knew he could not overturn Ra's decree, no god could, but he also knew that the boundaries of time were not as rigid as they seemed. If Nut could not give birth on any existing day, then new days must be found or made. At that time, the moon's light was full and steady, unchanging in its glow. So Jehuti approached Khonsu, the god of the moon, who was fond of games and wagers. Jehuti challenged Khonsu to a contest of senate and other games of chance, wagering slivers of moonlight itself. Khonsu, confident in his skill, agreed, but Jehuti was the greatest strategist among the gods. Game after game, he outmatched Khonsu, who was forced each time to yield a portion of his luminosity. At the end of their long contest, Jehuti had won enough moonlight to fashion 5 whole days, days that belonged to neither the old year nor to Ra's decree. These were the epagomenal days, the days upon the year existing outside the ordered count of 360. With these days created, Nut was finally free. On the first extra day, she gave birth to Alstar, destined to become the Lord of Life and Rebirth. On the second, she bore Heru the Elder, a sky god of vast power. On the third, Sutekh emerged wild, unpredictable, and strong as the desert storms. On the fourth, Nut delivered Auset, she of magic, cunning, and unshakable devotion. And on the fifth, Nebtet was born, the quiet guardian of thresholds and the night. Thus, the great cycle of divine drama was set in motion: life, conflict, reconciliation, and resurrection. Ra could not undo what was done, for these births occurred on days that did not exist when he made his decree. And so, because of Jehuti's wit, Khonsu's pride, and Nut's longing, the world gained 5 sacred days, days outside ordinary time, charged with divine potency, making the births of the gods who would shape Egypt's destiny forever. So that's the story of the relationship between Khonsu and Jehuti. They engaged each other in some friendly games of chance, and it led to the creation of 5 new days. That's basically a whole week. Additionally, Homeboy Khonsu has other sides to him, and he actually existed in a powerful trinity with Ra and with Mut, another committed divinity. Khonsu also makes a very interesting appearance in what is known as the Cannibal Hymn, which discusses his role as hunting down and slaying gods that are fit to be eaten or devoured so that the king could have their power. Khonsu is a living memory of potentially cannibalistic times in that area, or perhaps the idea of cannibalism is reshaped based on some outside knowledge or information, right? I in particular, don't know what the cannibalistic practices were of pre-dynastic Old Kingdom, what have you, Kemet. But it appears that homie over here hunted down, killed, and dragged back enemies for the king to eat and become more powerful. That's what it seems like. Which would make this particular divinity very interesting to build a relationship with. The principles represented by this divinity are principles that maybe we wouldn't want to contend with in ourselves, but do absolutely remain a part of our shadow. What are the parts of us that look at something else, desire it for ourselves, and desire to eat it or consume it so that it can be a part of us? That's the real urge that we all still have today. When it comes to Jehuti, when it comes to Thoth, Well, this homie right here is quite prolific, and it is this divinity that went on to shape entire orders of knowledge. If you have ever heard of Hermeticism or Hermes Trismegistus, they are talking, that is the Greeks talking about what they learned when they went into Kemet, when they went into Egypt and studied at those universities. So the Greek philosophers, the Greek elite, the ones with the money, the ones who were entitled to an education, they went off on their travels, entered into Egypt, studied at these very old universities, got their little graduations, if that was really a thing. They stayed there, studied, learned some stuff. Then went back to Greece and reapplied what they had learned from a Greek perspective. And so they renamed Thoth, they renamed Tahuti Hermes Trismegistus after their own Hermes, their own trickster, wise, game of chance. Like Hermes is definitely someone who's going to throw the dice and place some bets, just like Thoth did in the myth that we were just talking about. But this one right here is literally responsible for the building of society and empires all around the world. Various elites came to Egypt and studied at the feet of this master right here. Building a relationship with Tahuti is probably the epitome of the principle or the aphorism or the call to know from the Witch's Pyramid, to know, to will, to dare, to remain silent. Right here, Thoth, the epitome of to know, knows everything. If it's been written down, knows about it. If it's been counted, knows about it. If it has an order, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, knows about it. Your address, numbers, knows about it. Your birthday, age, numbers, knows about it. How tall are you? That is a measure, knows about it. The number of stars in the sky, knows about it. The number of stars in the constellation Virgo, Aries, Capricorn, Sagittarius, knows about it. Like this is how many white blood cells are in your immune system, knows about it. The route that your blood takes to exit the heart on one end and re-enter the other to become reoxygenized is in the other, knows about it. Geometry and the measure of buildings and structures, all within Tahuti's purview. And so for those of us who are on a path where knowledge is power, this right here is one of those divinities that would be exceptionally helpful to have in your wheelhouse. For those of you who are local to the Buffalo area, if you are interested, tomorrow starts my and my temple's exploration into Kemetic mysteries, meaning we are going to learn about, explore, understand, and apply the knowledge that was given to us directly from Kemet. We're not contending with the Greek translations. We are not contending with the way that maybe Ptolemy applied it in Greece or the way that any of it was applied in Rome or anything like that. We are just contending to the knowledge as it was handed down from Tahuti. And so I'm going to be doing that at Rising Goddess. There will be a service, some discussion, some Reiki, some spiritual readings, and some magical working that's being done. And that's going to be happening tomorrow at Rising Goddess. But then after that, it's going to be the first Saturday of every month. And we're going to explore the divine power of Kemet over the course of an entire year. And I do look forward to sharing that periodically, on this platform and in some of the other broadcasts that I do. How does this tie in to what we've been talking about? Well, we've been talking about demons, we've been talking about exorcism, and we've been talking about the way that all of the cultures who have spiritual practice has an understanding of demons. The understanding is slightly different across cultures, but one of the things that remains kind of consistent is that demons appear to be principles that operate in an opposite fashion of the principles that are represented by the gods. And when the demons are personified, they believe themselves or talk about themselves as if they are the opposites of the gods or the angels. And we start to recognize that maybe for every sinner, there's a saint. For every god, there's a demon, or for every angel, there's a demon, or what have you. And it starts to turn into this polarized kind of thing where, on the one hand, you're closer to divine good, and on the other hand, you are a blasphemed, devil. But the thing that remains certain for real, is that the spectrum connects all of the points on it. So even if one point appears to be wildly divinely good and the other appears to be wildly divinely bad, they are still on the spectrum of divinity. When it comes to the idea of Khonsu over here, what would have to happen in order for him to be like, you know what? These gods, they're fit to be eaten. They might have to be demonized in some way. They might have to be demonstrated as counter to the principles of creation and order in some way. And unfortunately, we undergo the demonization process very frequently when we are projecting our own expectations, our own insecurities, our own doubts, our own beliefs, and our own desires on the creation that we are looking at. So that's the big hint right here. Each of us individually, we are really responsible for what is a demon and what is a god. What is a demon and what is an angel? What is a saint and what is a sinner? It's our projections that create that. If you are interested in studying this phenomenon and how sensational it gets, just understand that there are people in places who are willing to lie to sensationalize this work. It's the reason why the most dramatic stories are in TV and not really in many clinical case books about, managing these experiences. I really stand by that as both a practitioner and a therapist. There's a reason why the sensational stuff is on TV. It's a reason why the sensational stuff ends up in some form of media and not in a comprehensive training manual that informs everyone, right? We all know how to wash our hands. We all know to wash our hands. That helps keep us healthy. How come the same thing is not given to us when it comes to demonic possession and exorcism and stuff like that? How come we not get in the spiritual wash our hands? It's because really the idea has been made sensationalized, and a lot of the stuff that people believe are demons are really just thought forms that are manifesting between their own warped, fragmented, sensational beliefs and the interaction between their mind, their third eye, and the astral plane. I've said that multiple times before. You're not really going to change my mind on that. I am open to maybe having discussions or making observations. Like you might be like, you think something is possessed? Sorry about that. You think someone is possessed and something is going on and you want me to see it? Bring me out there. I'll take a look at it. I will assess it as a clinical professional, and I will assess it as a high priest. And I will use an interdisciplinary model that is empirical and makes sense and tracks to come up with a decision. But seriously, even in some of the books that I've read by supposed psychiatrists who talk about, demonic possession from a Catholic standpoint, all sensational, no citations, literally didn't document the experience in any way that would help corroborate it for someone who's looking on the outside, right? Like, so I'm reading in these books that, these psychiatrists are seeing these things. You didn't take no pictures. You didn't do a case study about it. You didn't involve other professionals to look at what you were looking at. You didn't do none of that. It's sensational. And we really do have to practice our discernment and reading in between the lines and understanding that people will do things and say things and participate in things specifically for money or specifically for clout. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we are all going to be better, more knowledgeable, and better off afterwards. So keep that in mind as you continue to develop your interest. Hello, Atlas Andre Day from Brazil. Thank you for checking in. I want to continue to encourage everyone to check in with your higher self every morning, or every afternoon, or multiple times a day if you know you know. And continue to affirm your powers of discernment, affirm your financial security, affirm your body's ability to heal itself, affirm your ability to maintain good relationships, affirm your ability to be free, affirm your ability to trust your intuition. All of these things, continue to affirm them every day and watch how you grow in your own power. That's it for me for today. I'll be back next Friday with some more discussions about the divinities, the planes of existence, and the way that we choose to create demons for our own self-amusement, or our own benefit. And hopefully today was helpful for y'all, and it gives you something to think about, something to look forward to or look into. And until next week, blessed be everybody.